Hi there. In this video, we're going to be talking about simplifying expressions and the concept of divide out versus cancel out. Now, I want to talk about what cancel out means. And we want to talk, when I say cancel out, that means that things add to zero. Okay? So an example of this would be to say, like, if you had 5 plus negative 5, or if you had 8 minus 8, these two things add to 0, okay? And they go away, all right? They cancel out. Now, divide out, all right, this means that things divide to 1, okay? So let's say that you had 3 divided by 3, okay? That gives you 1. Let's say you had x squared divided by x squared. When you have something divided by itself, you get 1. Okay. Now, what I want to do is go through, this is the difference between these words, what they mean. When you say cancel out, that really means that they add to 0. When you say divide out, that means that we're dividing. Now, one thing that we run into is something like this. And I'm just going to give you a bunch of examples and talk about what this means. Let's say that you had 1 plus x divided by 1, okay? And a lot of people think that you can take these ones and you can cancel them out, all right? And you do that thing. And what you do is you say, like 1 divided by 1, and you do that. And so you're just left with x. Okay, number one, this is wrong. You cannot do this, all right? So let's look at this. Let's say that you had 1 plus x is divided by 1. And let's let x be equal to, say, 3, okay? Now, what I want to do is substitute this value in, all right? If I do 1 plus 3 over 1, all right, that's going to give us 4 over 1, which just gives us 4, okay? So when you substitute a number into a expression, and you evaluate it, that's what you get. But what would happen is if you said, 1 plus x over 1, and you divide out the ones, and you're simply just left with x, and you substitute 3 in for x, you get 3. And the difference is that these two things are different. They're not the same, all right? When you simplify an expression, you should get the same thing. So let's look at something else. Let's look at another example, all right? Let's say that you've got, x squared plus 2x over x, all right? I'm going to do this, all right? And let's let x be equal to 1, okay? Actually, let's not do that. Let's let x be equal to, say, 3, all right? So if I plug this in, I'm going to get 3 squared plus 2 times 3 all over 3. All right, 3 squared gives us 9 plus 6 all over 3. And then we're going to get 9 plus 6 is 15. So we get 15 over 3, and that ends up giving us 5. All right, so our answer here, when we evaluate this with x equals 3, we get 5. All right, now what I want to do is I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to simplify this. All right, and the way that I simplify this expression, we're going to have things divide out here. First thing I can do up in my numerator is I can factor out an x. All right, so if I factor out an x, I'm left with then x plus 2, and then we're dividing that by x. Here's what I'm doing, all right? What you should see here is that I'm multiplying x by this quantity. At that point, the reason why I can divide x by x is because I'm multiplying by x out here. So if you're multiplying by a number, then you can divide it out. Multiplication and division are essentially the same thing. They're inverses of each other, but in order to divide, you have to be multiplying, okay? And so what I've got here, I can then divide out my x's, and then we're just left with x plus 2. And if we let x equal 3, and I take this value and substitute it into this expression, then all of a sudden I've got 3 plus 2, which gives us 5. And notice that that's what we got up here. All right, this and this was the same value. I started with the same expression. Okay, now up here, I didn't simplify it. All right, but down here I did, and we get the same thing. Doesn't matter what you plug in. That's how you can tell if you're doing something correctly, okay? And that was the difference up here when I divided this out. Now, the reason why this is wrong is because 1 divided by 1, I'm not multiplying by 1 up here. I'm doing 1 plus x. That is gonna stay where like 1 plus x is that's where it is. I can't factor anything out of this. I can't do anything to it. And so because I'm adding 1 to the x, I can't divide this out because I'm not multiplying. There was a difference over here with what I was doing, you know, with this x, all right? And that's how that works. You know, I hope that you guys see the difference in this example up here versus down here. And that's what you can do. All right. So when you've got, say, you know, I'm going to do another example of how to simplify something. Let's say that you had 3x plus 9 over 7. Okay. This cannot be simplified any further. Okay. Now, what you can do is, yeah, you can factor out a 3 in your numerator, and you're still dividing that by 7. But because 3 and 7 don't divide evenly, there's nothing I can do on that. And so I just leave it like this. I don't go any further. Okay. Now, let's also say that, you know, in our example, let's do another one. Let's say I had 4x plus 8 all over 2. Okay, I can factor a 4 out of my numerator, and I have that 2 down there. Then I can divide 4 and 2. Because I'm multiplying by 4, I can divide those out. So 4 over 2 divides out to 2 over 1. Okay, and then I can simplify this expression and say, well, this is really 2 times x plus 2. And you could write it like that. You could distribute this 2 and say that you have 2x plus 4. But all 3 of these things that I've boxed over here are the same thing. Simplifying means that I can, you know, make these numbers smaller, and I'm still going to have an equivalent statement. I just don't have to do all the operations up here. So if you can simplify something, that's the idea. But you have to be multiplying in order to simplify, okay? And that's the idea. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it kind of clears things up as to when you can divide things out, when you cancel things out, the difference between those two, and we'll go from there. So let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.